Hi, I'm Rin Guidance of the Norse, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Freya.
Og ég ætla mér alls ekki að missa af því ævintýri.
Freya, or Freya, depending on what country you're from and what time period. The goddess Freya is truly the ultimate goddess. She is associated with nature, with wisdom, with magic and foresight, divination, fertility, life, and death. She is the goddess of love and war. And that right there shows you the dichotomy. She is everything and everything in between. The divine feminine. She embodies the dualities of life and love and war and death. That is all-encompassing. So how do we even begin to try to define her? She is listed as being the most beautiful of all the gods, but she also is said to have a type of ferocity. And that really reminds me of so many Asian deities when we talk about Kali Ma or the All-Mother type of figure. How one divine entity, the divine feminine, has avatars or different expressions of who she is, depending on how you are relating to her and petitioning her. Kind of like how your mother would be. She was a wife or a partner, at least when you were conceived. She is a daughter, but she's also a mother and has that nurturing type of energy. So the thing about Freya is she challenges what we would consider traditional roles. And through the ages, we have split her, reduced her, and with that reductive type of mindset, made her this really pretty goddess who's really golden and beautiful, and she loves jewelry, and she does magic. And that is not the perception that the Old Norse had of her. She was a symbol of desire and sensuality and beauty, of course, because she was the god of fertility. She was a fertility goddess, so that involves that type of connection of sensuality, and also a divine mother. She was a patroness of marriage and of birth and fertility. And many people say, oh, no, that's Frigg. But that was a later rendition. We know that etymology and the way it has been studied is that originally Freya and Frigg were the same goddess, and it kind of split where more of the southern Germanic tribes began to associate them differently. And we see this in other deities throughout time. People who are animistically based tend to allow, as they should, their environment to shape their perception of the divine and deity. So she's associated with the joys of life. She's known as a giver or the gifter. We know that her sacred animals are the cats, and she is listed as having 2 cats that pull her on a cart or a chariot, but she's also mentioned as riding a special boar. Now we know that Freyr, her counterpart, her male counterpart, who is listed as her twin brother husband, he rides Gullinbursti, that golden-haired boar. That's so associated with him because the boar is an association of abundance and fertility. Likewise, Freya also rides a boar. Now, I want to make a point about this association with Freya. Again, we can't take things literally in any of these texts, especially with the Norse people, because their way of communicating and what they valued as not just accurate historical storytelling or poetry was a art form, a way of wordsmithing, and it showed intelligence, it showed depth, and things were never taken literally. So it's really important to understand that. So going back to Freyr and Freya, they really represent, by saying that they are twins but also espoused to one another, shows that they're kind of a reflection of the divine feminine and masculine, and together they create the divine, the life givers, the creators, all of that type of representation. So that's really important to kind of weigh in your mind when you're reading any of the mythology of any spiritual path. Honestly, mythologies in general are not meant to take literally. But anyway, so she was the owner of her necklace, the Brisingamen, which was this beautiful amber jeweled necklace that she desired. And how she acquired it in the mythos really shows how she emboldened her power to get what she wanted. She owned what she had, her assets, and used them to her advantage. It's actually very empowering if you think. So what happened was the dwarfs created this necklace, and in order for her to receive it from them, she had to sleep with them. And so, of course, this is all metaphorical, but it shows the empowerment and representing that she is her willingness to defy social norms to empower herself, because she was this ultimate goddess. She makes the rules. So there is definitely this element of being able to empower yourself and create space for where you need to be. Now, we also know that Freya was the teacher of magic and Seder to the Aesir. She taught Odin all these things. We know that this aspect of Seder really is the manipulation of fate. So if we look at things as a tapestry, there are many threads. And so Norse magic, or magic in general, is the manipulation and the moving of those threads. But sometimes there are some things that are set. If you ever saw Doctor Who, they would talk about that. Like, oh, you can't alter that timeline because that's one of the fixed ones. So it's that same way. Things like when you're going to die or when you're born. Some things are set in fate, and they are not regular things that you would manipulate or manifest or be able to do with regular magic. What's said there is, it is the ability and the desire to manipulate fated things that are fate, foreseeing what that fate is and then trying to alter it. And there are stories where people wrestle with that, and they wrestle with the Norns to manipulate fate. And it's very, very interesting. So it's a little bit different than just, trying to manifest things or spell work or magic of any kind. It's a lot harder. So she was the owner of this, the developer of this, the creator of this, and the teacher of this. As a matter of fact, we see in the Völuspá, where it talks about Golveg meaning gold. Freya is always referred to as that, shining, bright, gold. Many scholars attest that it is more than likely that is a representation of Freya from the very beginning, from the beginning of Seder, from the beginning of magic. That Golveg and Freya, that Golveg is that avatar of Freya in that situation, and then she goes out into the world and teaches disreputable women magic, or women who would make bad wives, really is more of an accurate translation. And that being said, could be as simple as women who don't want to be married, who want to remain single, women who don't want to have a traditional lifestyle of that patriarchal time. It could be as simple as that type of translation, and many scholars actually think that's what that's referring to, not that she's actually seeking out evil women to teach these things too. And of course there's a bias of Norse magic at the time that these things were written down, because it's much later, it's the medieval period, where we then see the domination of Christianity in Scandinavia. So, back to my notes. She is a master of Seder. It gives her power over destiny. Who else has power over destiny? The Norns. Freya is associated with the Norns, and I've done other videos about this, how the Dis, they're the ancestors, they're the Filja, they're the Norns, they're the goddesses. They can be magic Jotun people. The Disar encompass everything, and there's a lot of overlap in these roles. For instance, Freya's also mentioned as a Valkyrie. She's the head Valkyrie. She is the one that leads the Valkyries into battle. And I want to say this, because people never talk about it, but you know I bring it to you. This is the thing. Freya chooses the first half of the slain in battle to take to Folkvanger, her hall, which is a hall of peace and afterlife and great things, as opposed to Valhalla, which is just continuing getting up, fighting, dying, getting up, fighting, dying. So she goes first. She chooses half of the slain first. Is that because of chivalry? Ladies first. You go first, Freya. And then Odin takes what's left. No. It is to show precisely her dominance in this time. So everything in the spirit realm is reflected in the physical realm. And what we see in nature is that the feminine energy is bigger. It is more dominant. And the masculine energy comes alongside of. It almost kind of can activate the divine feminine energy. It can enhance it. It can accentuate it. It can fertilize it. But it is a smaller type of energy. So, in these crazy times, in the past few thousand years, that is swapped. The divine feminine has been put in a reductive type of box, and the divine masculine is the big kahuna taking over. God is a father. He is the Lord. He is this sky daddy. God is a man. And we see this reflected in culture in the past few thousand years, and it never was like that. We talk about more ancient cultures and we're like, oh, they were matriarchal. Wow, how crazy is that? Whoa. But that's what we see reflected in nature, and that is the way things are. So when it's wonky and flip-flopped, and the divine feminine is supposedly to be submissive and take a backseat to the divine masculine, that's the big kahuna, things are toxic. Things are out of balance. Things are out of whack. Look at the world today. You see it exaggerated and actually coming to a head. It is an imbalance to have the divine masculine overpower the divine feminine. It is not the way it was meant to be, and it is not how we can have fertility and creativity and peace and an abundant life. So that is why It's so significant that Freya chooses before anybody else. It's to show her authority, to show her role of dominance and superiority over the divine masculine that gets the scraps left over. Now, does it mean that the divine masculine is not as important or not as valuable? No, of course not. The roles are different. That's the point that they're making. It is a smaller role compared to the divine feminine. Everybody comes out of a woman. Women come out of women, men come out of women. It is a bigger role. So I wanted to make that very, very, very clear. So it is mentioned that Freya is depicted riding off into battle. She's guiding the Valkyries. She's doing her thing and takes those with her to Folkvanger. It's very peacefully described, Folkvanger, this field that has her hall, Sissenrumnir, and it's so different to how Valhall is described. And I do think that a lot is lost in translation, and because of the patriarchal time that things were written down, in why this Valhalla thing is so taken off as cool and desired. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of my friends in Sweden and a few years ago, and they were like, why are Americans so into Valhalla? Why is that? Like, it's not even as big a thing even in the sagas and Eddas. It's like a couple blips and it's made into this huge thing. I mean, my husband has Valhalla t-shirts and, it is cool. And I said, it's because Americans are attracted to violence. They are attracted to patriarchal, dominant, oppression types of way of existing. It's how our country was formed. It's part of our culture. Whether you're that type of person or not, you are still affected by it. And it's glorified. Whereas where this stuff really comes from, it's not glorified at all. They're like Vikings. Oh yeah, that was that period of a few hundred years in our history of thousands of years. Yeah. So we're the ones that make it this big, big thing. Anyway, Freya has two beautiful daughters, Nos and Gersami, and they mean treasure and jewel. And I love that. I think that's beautiful, that's her offspring and those are her daughters, and their names are Treasure and Jewel. It again just shows the perfection of this deity and the beauty of everything about her. She is the sun, she is the moon, she is all of the faces of any feminine deity in the Norse path and in Norse spirituality. So I hope I gave you a new angle, some things to think about, at least, about the goddess Freya. And all you have to do is read for yourself and see the different representations. But yeah, she is the great mother of it all. And we know this because her name, Freya, means lady. She doesn't even have a name. Her name is, lady, divine feminine, the mother. That's who she is. She is that. Whether it's Isis or Fortuna or all these other types of goddesses that you hear about, our people, or the Scandinavian people, called that Freya. So I hope this gives you a new take, and I'll be talking to you soon. More videos in a little bit longer form to come on my Patreon. And thank you so, so much. Tack så mycket.